A very good day and welcome to Bioscholars Academy of Learning. Again, this will be a continuation of Unit 2 Cellular Organization. So, today we are going to talk about a very important cell organelle, that is your endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so endoplasmic reticulum is an exclusive cell organelle that is present in your eukaryotes. Okay, so it's a single membrane bound intracellular compartment. Okay, it is an extensive network of closed and flattened membrane structure. So ER is differentiated into smooth ER and rough endoplasmic reticulum depending on their association with ribosomes. Okay, so when cells are homogenized, the ER breaks into fragments and reseals into small vesicles called microsomes. So whenever you are breaking down the cells in order to release the cell organelle, what happens is the endoplasmic reticulum breaks down and seals into small vesicle like structure called your microsomes. So you can see this is how the endoplasmic reticulum looks like. It continues from the nuclear membrane, okay, and it forms flattened sac-like structures. So there are two types. One is your SER and other one is your rough ER. So RER is something where the ribosomes are bound to the endoplasmic reticulum. Then we call them as RER. So they appear rough when you observe it under microscope. Okay, and smooth ER, they are not bound to ribosomes. You can see they have a lumen inside or a space inside. And again, the membrane of the endoplasmic reticulum is a unit membrane structure. So what do you understand by unit membrane? That means their structure is similar to your lipid bilayer or your plasma membrane. Okay, what is more important for us to understand is the functions of endoplasmic reticulum. So it's very clear that the rough endoplasmic reticulum, since it's bound to ribosome, it is involved in protein synthesis, okay, and addition and processing of carbohydrates. So it plays a very major role in a process called glycosylation. Okay, so it plays a major role in protein glycosylation. Okay, and formation of disulfide bond, proper folding. Okay, this disulfide bond, proper folding, and also your glycosylation, all this comes under a process called post translational modification, if you remember it right. So once a protein is produced, it doesn't mean it's functional. It has to undergo certain changes, okay, like a disulfide bond between the cysteine residues or a proper folding in order to attend its proper conformation or glycosylation. Okay, and it also helps in specific proteolytic cleavage. Okay, assembly into multimeric protein. Say for example, your insulin is made up of two subunits, the alpha and the beta subunit, right? So the alpha and the beta subunit has to combine. Okay, that assembly takes place in the endoplasmic reticulum, and this is very important. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum acts as a site of lipid biosynthesis, detoxification, and calcium regulation. Okay, so this smooth endoplasmic reticulum is highly present, or it is abundant in your liver where detoxification occurs. Okay, now we shall see what kind of glycosylation occurs. There is a kind of glycosylation, I already told you. It is the addition of sugar molecules to the protein. Okay, that is called as glycosylation, sugar or carbohydrate. So N-linked glycosylation is the attachment of sugar molecule to a nitrogen atom in a amino acid residue in a protein. Okay, so say for example, this is a protein. Okay, this protein will have amino acids, right? So usually to amino acids, so N-linked glycosylation usually happens in the amino acid called aspargine. Okay, amino group of aspargine. So what happens? The binding of the sugar moiety to the nitrogen atom on the protein okay, on the amino acid in the protein is called N-linked glycosylation. This process is itself huge, okay, we can study that in detail, okay. So this is about endoplasmic reticulum, so we will stick on to that, okay. In this process, a large preformed oligosaccharide precursor is added to the protein. Okay, so this is the precursor. How it is added? It is linked by a protein called dolicol. Say for example, this is your protein, okay. Here you will have a molecule called dolicol, and this is your dolicol. I will label it as D, and then you will have your carbohydrate or your sugar. Okay, so this dolicol acts as a linking molecule between your protein and your carbohydrate. Okay, dolicol. Now, what is dolicol? Dolicol is a linker molecule. Okay, it is made up of a polyisoprenoid which is embedded in rough endoplasmic reticulum as a carrier for oligosaccharide. You can either call it as a carrier or you can either call it as a linker. So this is what N-linked glycosylation means. You can expect part B questions from N-linked glycosylation. Okay. Yes, the structure of N-linked linked oligosaccharide, this oligosaccharide, okay, this round structure, what all it contains, okay, it consists of 3 glucose, okay, 9 mannose, 2 N-acetyl glucosamine molecules, okay. So the oligosaccharide, it's written like this: GLU9, which stands for glucose 9 molecule, mannose 3, and N-acetyl glucosamine 2 molecules, okay. And there is an antibiotic called tunicamycin that is going to inhibit the synthesis of oligosaccharide, okay. So tunicamycin is an antibiotic. This question can also be asked. Now, what are the functions of glycosylation? Glycosylation is required for the protein to fold properly. It confers stability. It also aids in cell-to-cell addition. It also serves as an antigen. Okay, this is again very important functions of glycosylation. Next, protein folding. So what happens in protein folding? It's assisted by chaperones, okay, molecular chaperones help in protein folding, which prevents segments of a nascent chain from misfolding. So protein folding is so very important that if it misfolds, it can lead to diseases, okay. An important chaperone of HSP70, HSP stands for heat shock protein 70 family, is present in the lumen of ER, that is called BIP. Okay, BIP is a HSP70, okay, and it is present in the lumen of your endoplasmic reticulum. So what it does, the BIP binds to the newly synthesized protein as they are translocated in the ER, okay. So you all know the protein synthesis happens in the cytosol, okay. Once the protein is synthesized, that new protein will be translocated into the ER, okay. Once they are translocated, this BIP goes and binds to the protein, okay. And calnexin and calreticulin prevent premature and incorrect folding of protein. These two proteins prevent the incorrect folding of protein. That is very important. So each and every point in this slide is very important and potential questions which can be asked, okay. Next, formation of disulfide bond. First, try to understand disulfide bonds are formed between the cysteine residues, okay. They will have the sulfur group, right. So there will be a sulfhydryl bond, okay, that will be formed between the two cysteine residue, and that will give a quaternary structure for the protein, okay. They do not form in the cytosol. This is very important. Why they do not why the disulfide bonds are not formed in the cytosol? Because it is having a reducing environment, okay. So disulfide formation in the ER lumen is facilitated by an enzyme called protein disulfide isomerase. Since cytosol is having a reducing environment, the disulfide bond can be reduced easily, and hence they are formed inside the ER lumen by an enzyme called protein disulfide isomerase. isomerase. PDI catalyzes the rearrangement of disulfide bond. Okay, so disulfide bond are present only in the secretory protein and in the exoplasmic domain of membrane proteins. Okay, so these are all, we are all discussing about the functions of endoplasmic reticulum. So these were the major functions of your endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, I hope you all understood about this. We shall see more such videos. Do like, share and comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Okay, if you have any queries, please post it in the comment section. Thank